to planting, we're going to discuss some tips for you on getting your planter ready to go for the season. We want to look at the planter bar overall and make sure that our planter bar is sitting level. You can do it in the shop or best in the field. Let's set the planter down and just put a level across the top of the toolbar to make sure that it is sitting level. If it's not sitting level, it can affect how the seeds are dropped through the tube or how the meters perform, the drive system, the disc openers. So it's important that the planter is sitting level. After that, we want to check the bushings on the parallel linkage arms to make sure everything is running right. If you've got some slop in your parallel linkage, it can cause the row unit to run different or lock up, or there's different things that can happen. So just double check your bushings, replace what you have to. After that, we want to look at our chain drives. If we got chains on the individual rows, we want to make sure that they're not rusty or there's kinks in there. We also, if you got ground drives on there, want to make sure the chains are loose back there. If you are running cable drives, you want to pull those off and make sure that they spin freely and that they're not frayed cable ends or that there's something freezing that cable up inside. After that, we will want to check the meters, make sure the meters are clean, that they're running true. I would suggest that you bring the meters in and have them put on the meter stand so that we can run them and make sure they're running the way they're supposed to before going to the field. We want to look and make sure there's no parts worn inside the meters that need to be replaced. It's much easier to replace them at the beginning of the season than it is to replace in the middle of the season when you're trying to plant. Next, we'll want to check our disc openers up front and make sure that they're running the way they're supposed to. Your disc openers are supposed to create a V trench, and if you have too much gap in there, it actually creates a W instead of a V, and your seed could ride up and end up sitting on top of part of the W. So we want to use 2 business cards and slide it down inside the disc opener from both top and bottom, and you should have approximately 1.5 to 2 inches in between. If we're smaller than that or wider than that, we need to adjust those disc openers so they do what they're supposed to do. And also, you should measure your disc openers. Most disc blades are 15 inch. Once you get down to that 14.5, you should replace them. Some, like the newer ACOs, are 16 inch, so once you get down to 15.5, you want to replace them. After that, check your seed tubes. We want to make sure that our seed tubes aren't cracked or that there isn't issues or anything fraying at the bottom of the seed tubes that can affect how the seed finds the way into this trench. If it hits a frayed tube, it can kick it off and it's not going exactly where it's supposed to. So you can check on those. Then we want to check our gauge wheels, make sure our gauge wheels are set the way they're supposed to. You want them kind of rubbing up against the disc openers. If you have a gap in between the disc openers and the gauge wheels, you can get dirt falling down into the trench. So when you think you're putting your seed in at 2 inches and there's some fines getting in there, suddenly your seed is in at 1.5 inches instead of 2 inches. So we want to make sure they're set, and we also want to make sure that the bearings and everything are good on those. From there, go back, check the closing wheels. You want your closing wheels centered on that row unit. Easiest way to do it is to set it down and pull your planter across a little bit of concrete, 4 or 5 feet, and look at the marks left by the disc opener on the center of your closing wheels so that we get the right amount of pressure on where we're supposed to and not where we're not supposed to. And finally, when you get to the field, I would check on my row cleaners. For the guys that are running the rigid mount row cleaners, we want the row cleaner set as best we can so that it's removing trash, but we don't necessarily want it moving dirt. Another option is to get a floating row cleaner, which will follow the contour of the ground, but again, we want the right amount of pressure on there that we're removing trash and not dirt. If you have any questions on getting your planter ready to go, you can give me a call on my cell, and that's 276-4247. Thank you.
United Farmers Co-op UFC.